Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. And this is Dora of my mom. Today's video is gonna be a tutorial, so the first tutorial of this wave of videos, and it's all about how to create your own clothing tags, and it's gonna be very easy with things you probably have at home. So it's a very economical way to create your own branded tags for your handmade products. Right up to now, I have been using satin printed tags. I have been buying from a company in WA, Toots and Ted, or I will put the link down below, and it's been great. However, I've been working on these beautiful handmade t-shirt yarn creations, and what I want to do with this is to put a tag on top of it instead of being on a side sew in, so like this, and I will later sew manually by hand on top of here, and in the case of the back it will be around there. Although I could have changed to satin printed tag, change the orientation of the name, I wanted to find a way that was more handmade and economical, because printed tags is not really expensive, but it adds to all the cost of creating products. This is the way that I'm gonna be creating my own tags at home with a very minimal supplies that most likely you do have at home. The first thing that you need is a software or a platform to create your design that you are gonna print in the orientation and the dimensions that you want. In my case, I use Canva. I have the premium subscription to Canva, but if you don't have subscription to Canva, you can still do it on the free option, or you can use PowerPoint or Photoshop or any design related. You just need a table with your logo and the size and dimensions that you want, and be able to save that and print it. The second thing that you need is a printer, and it cannot be any printer, but most likely your printer is one of these. So it needs to be either a laser printer or an inkjet printer. In my case, I have a Canon TS9000, and that is an inkjet printer. Most likely your printer is an inkjet printer, but for this tutorial and the materials that I have, you do need either an inkjet printer or a laser printer. If you have a sublimation printer, that is a whole different process, but you can also create your labels with a sublimation printer, but that's not for this video. The third supply that you're gonna need is your printer paper. And it's not any paper, of course. It needs to be a special paper to create a label that will attach or adhere with heat to your fabric. In this case, I just buy it from Amazon. Again, I will leave the link down in the description box. There are plenty of options out there. You can buy it online, but also you can buy it on Officeworks or any other like stationery / craft shop, even a Spotlight. So this is a heat transfer paper. So it needs to be heat transfer paper, and it needs to say that it's appropriate for the type of printer that you have. So we have LaserJet and inkjet printer. This is to print on light fabrics. There is another version that you can buy if you want to print your labels on dark cotton. The good thing about this option is that it comes with the instructions and the heat presets that you need depending on what tool are you using. And that is the fourth is the fourth? Yeah, I think so. That is the fourth tool that you will need, and it's some sort of heat press, so, or iron, or a heat press machine. So here you have the three options. You have your iron, you heat press, like Kraken heat press machine like the one I have. And finally, the last thing that you need is, of course, the fabric that you're gonna use to print your label. So in this case, in my first try, I use cotton fabric in color cream. And for this try, I'm gonna do 2 tries. One is gonna be on this pinky cotton, same structure, same texture as the other print, or same likeness. But also I'm gonna try to print on this canvas cotton, which is a little bit more sturdy and thick. Before we get with the process, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up to this video. I upload videos every Monday, or I try to do so, and every like, any subscriber helps heaps. Okay, let's get to the tutorial. So as I said, here is my Canva. That's what we want. So we are gonna create a blank page, and this is just what I do, okay? I go to Canva and search for a letter size document, blank. I found it. There are many options. I select the right size, and then it's gonna give you a lot of templates. I just go with blank. All right, so you have many options, but what I do is I actually insert a grid table, so I can space my labels correctly, and later on I have the grid to be able to cut properly, and all the things will be on the same size. Within Canva, if you insert a normal table, you have these options at the top, the 3 dots at the top and on the left, that will allow you to space evenly either the columns or the rows. So here I'm spacing evenly. Here I'm adding the rows because I want more than the standard 4. And then I will increase the size, and then I will go to those 3 dots again, and I will say size columns equally and size rows equally. And if you want to know the dimensions of each square or each rectangle, you go on the top, but you go position, and I will tell you the width and the height. But also you can do that by just looking at the size of your logo. In this case, the next step will be to insert your logo. In my case, I already have it in my branded components, but you can just upload your logo or whatever you want to print, upload it to Canva, and then measure it out. So as you can see, when you move the cursor to make it smaller or larger, on the right hand side will show you the dimensions. So I think this one is 4 centimeters times 1.5. Yeah, I think it's that 4. And because I have the grid, it allows me to evenly space it, different logos, you know. Here I'm just playing around with how big I wanted it to be, and for the next, couple of minutes, I will just copy paste the first logo and then complete the rest of the grid. Again, I'm using Canva, but you can use any other software that you are comfortable with. Originally, my first tags that I made ages ago, I actually used just PowerPoint with the same process. PowerPoint created a table, changed the size of the PowerPoint to be the portrait instead of landscape to portrait, and then inserted a table, the appropriate columns and rows depending on the size that I wanted, and I just printed it that way. So you are not restricted by the software. You don't have to have Canva, you don't have to have Photoshop. You can just use Word document or PowerPoint if you have access to that. Export this as a PDF. It doesn't have to PDF, but for printing, that's kind of the best option. But yeah, you can print it as a PowerPoint, and it's gonna be fine. The The only thing that you need to make sure is that you can actually print that file later on your printer. And that's it. That's the first step of the process. We have our file, and now we go back to real life and me printing this. Once your design is ready and you have downloaded it or you have saved it somewhere, you have to insert the paper in the correct way into your printer machine. Paper will have a clear side or a white side and one side that is the bronze side. You need to know how to put the paper in your machine so it prints in the correct side, which is the white side. I'm gonna show you how I do it in my printer, but your printer could be different. And also it depends on what the source of the paper, if it's a tray or if it's at the back. It depends on, again, your printer. So I'm gonna squeeze that because my printer is here. Okay. So that's my printer. This is where I put the paper. As you see, there is another paper here. And I know that this printer prints like this. So it takes the paper and it runs it around and it goes like this. So it prints on this side. So for me to print it in the correct side, I have to put the wrong side looking up. All right, so it goes there. I'm gonna put this here. Okay, and it's ready to receive the file. One important thing about the printing is first that you select the right size of paper. So in this case is letter, but also if you don't want the dimensions to change while printing, you need to make sure that in your preview or in your options when you are printed, you put that scale is 100% and not scale to fit. Because if you select scale to fit, it will shrink your design or your table or your whatever is that you're printing to fit the whole page of the letter of the paper. In my case, I'm gonna go scale 100 and everything is correct. So my Canon default settings, A4 or letter, and print. Okay, so now that we have the printed, the only thing left to do is, this is what I do, how I do it, is to heat press it to the fabric that we want. And because I want to try 2 different fabrics, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this in 2 and I'm gonna press those 2 materials. So you don't have to do this, of course. This is just for me because I want to learn how to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna print these 3 rows on the pink version and then this one on the more thick version. What is gonna happen is that it's gonna print everything or it's gonna attach all the design into the fabric. That includes all the lines, everything. That's why it says in the instructions that if you want to trim it, this is the point that you trim the design. But because I want all of them to be printed on the fabric and then I will cut between the lines so the lines don't show, but that's a good guide for me to cut the right size of the labels. The other thing that is different, if you have done sublimation or heat transfer vinyl, you normally mirror the designs. In this case, we don't mirror the designs. In this case, we just put it the way it is, facing up, then press it. All right, so now that we know what we want, I'm gonna start hitting the heat press according to the instructions. Each pack of printed paper will have instructions. Just go with the instructions that you have in there. So as I mentioned, I have a heat press, so I'm gonna turn it on. I know that not many people will have a heat press. Again, you can use your trusty iron or your easy press that looks like this. Now we just wait until it reaches temperature. In my case, it has to reach, according to my instructions, it has to reach 170 degrees Celsius before you press your fabrics. And this is very, very important. I'm gonna put it here because I'm far from the stand. Before you heat press your fabric and your labels, make sure to remove this part of the paper, the back side. Okay, it should come easily like this. So what you are left with is like a very thin, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like very thin piece of paper. It's not even paper, it's like, it feels like plasticky, but I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, so that is that. And then I'm gonna do this one close to you. So this is the paper, and you just have to find with your nails, like this. And you just put it on top. As part of your printed paper, most likely it's gonna come with a piece of A3 Teflon paper. If it doesn't, then you can use any like kitchen Teflon kitchen paper. Because I have a heat press machine, I already have this parchment paper or this more sturdy paper that it comes with all the sublimation, heat transfer, and all that. And this is necessary to put on top of your design so you don't damage the actual tool, because some of the ink, something could go wrong and you could damage either your iron, your heat press, or your easy press. Again, all the instructions for the printed on the fabric process will come with the paper. You can just follow that. That's what I did. I just went and follow what it said. We are almost there with the temperature. Okay, now that we are at 170, I'm gonna put my fabric, I'm gonna put it in the center just because. And then you are gonna put on top, you are gonna put either your Teflon paper or whatever you have. And according to the instructions, we need to press it for 15 seconds. And this is the instructions for a heat press machine. The instructions for the other tools will be different. So you just have to follow it. Like that. This is there. I actually don't know if this on this fabric will work. No idea. So let's try it together. So this is a thicker cotton canvas instead of just cotton. On the other side, so it doesn't curl in. And again, 15 seconds. This machine already has a timer, so I just go with the timer, although the beeping at the end is quite annoying. It will beep until you open the machine. Okay. All right. Okay, let's have a look. One key difference from sublimation, for example, or heat transfer vinyl is that you don't have to peel anything. This is it. As you can see, you still have the grid. It pretty much attaches or adheres that film that we have in the paper to the fabric. And this is the version with the other fabric. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a couple of labels and I'm gonna show you how they look when they are on their own. Okay, here they are. So you can see that it's still pink, but a little bit whitish because the film just tones it down a little bit, and this is the other. I really like this thick cotton canvas, to be honest. Corner like this. Looks nice. Which one would you prefer? This one or this one? That one or that one? Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it has been useful, this video, and you can get to make your own labels, clothing labels, brand labels at home with the tools that you have. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. Have a lovely week and see you next Monday. Bye.